Hello everyone and good morning. My name is Dhaval again. I'm the product manager with QNAP. We're going to start with the workshop right now. Give me 1 second. All right, so today's workshop is about how to build a complete home lab environment with QNAP. For today's agenda, we'll be going through the part one will be virtualization, how you can use virtualization or container station to run different applications that will fit your home lab needs. Like if you want to run a DHCP server, a DNS server, or something you want to have like a download application that you want to run instead of having a physical computer for all of these servers, you can actually virtualize them all into your QNAP NAS rather than having physical servers. So that ends up saving space on you at your home as well as power savings option as well. Because as you can see, the utility bills are increasing, so you want to lower down your energy usage. So having virtualization is a great application because the QNAP NAS is already running, right? Why don't you virtualize something on that QNAP NAS so it doesn't use a physical space as well as it doesn't use another computer to use that. So we will go through virtualization, how you can use virtualization and container station. Part two will be everyone at the home have different types of computer, right? It could be Windows computer, PCs, VMs, if you're using virtualization like VMware, Hyper-V. You want to make sure, or you want to ensure that you have a backup all those for all those important data that you have on different computers. It doesn't matter if it's a small business, it'll be for your employees. If it's home, then it'll be for your family. You want to make sure that you have backup of all that devices, right? And NAS is a great solution for you to back up everything onto one single device. Then we'll stop for a little bit of Q&A, and then part three will be for multimedia applications. So how you can use QNAP as a multimedia server to host like maybe a video application, like something like Plex, or you can use something like QUMAG to be able to replicate what you have. Features like Google Photos provide or Apple iPhone Photos provide you with that. Instead of paying a subscription fee, you can do all of that within your QNAP NAS and have everyone, like all your families, be able to dump the data within the QNAP instead of having them pay for all these subscription separately as well. And lastly, how to securely access your data remotely. So if you have a QNAP NAS and you're traveling, you definitely want to access your data remotely as well. So we'll go through that in the part four of that. So let's get started since we're running a little bit late already. So let's get started with part one. So I'll hand it off over to Daniel. So you can now share your screen as well.
Right. Thank you, everyone. I'm Daniel, the technical account manager. So this is virtualization station right here. As you see, I've got two VMs, one running. We have even desktop QNAP NAS, not too big, fit in your house pretty well with up to a 16-core CPU, so you can run a good number of VMs on something like that. So we actually have some pretty good hardware for this. So why don't I showcase the software? So here you can just see the VM running. I can just click on it, and I'm right inside. And so this is a Windows 10 VM. So some features that we have are things like CPU hot add. CPU hot add. So let me just show that right now. So you can see with this VM, there's settings like how many cores, how much RAM, and something that's fairly new is you can hot add cores. I guess this was not enabled when we started the VM. So if this was enabled, I could hot add while it was running. But because it's not enabled, let me just show how that is done. So first of all, let's go for create a VM. So let's just call this like Win 10 2. So operating system Windows 10. You have different options, but I like to do UEFI, choose CPU cores. I think that's good. RAM, let's go to 4 gigabytes maybe. Memory sharing. So if you have multiple VMs, particularly the same OS, a lot of the pages of RAM might be identical between them, and they could be shared. So it's almost like the concept of deduplication, but for your RAM. So you can run more VMs with less RAM. Now, some of our even desktop devices can go up to 128 gigs of RAM. Some of our rack mounts can go up to a terabyte, but depending on the NAS, this might be very, very helpful. And then here I choose, first of all, I need an image. So I do have an ISO here. And the location where I want this to be. I'll just put it here. And the virtual switch you want it connected to, because you do want to be able to access your VM. There's different ways you could configure that, bridge mode or whatever, but I think the default setting is usually the right setting. And I will click OK.
So this, because it's a Windows 10 or Windows 10 machine, we have the ability to configure your Windows settings. So remember, when you initialize the operating system for the first time, especially Windows, it does ask you for some questions, right? What would be your product key? What username, password do you want? QNAP can actually do that, all of that for you. So instead of going through waiting for Windows application, how when you after installation it goes through the setup, right? So instead of having to wait. Because you may be walking away from your computer or from the NAS while the Windows is installing, and then it may go to that screen and it'll just wait there. Instead of waiting that we have the information already, like the product key or username password that you want to use, you can pre-enter that into the QNAP software, and the virtualization station, while installing it, will put all that information into the NAS. So it will just keep going through that. So you don't have to wait for that. Now, the only caveat is that if you're using Word I/O for hard drive type, then you cannot use this particular feature because the Word I/O requires an extra step of installing the drivers. So it may just go into a boot loop where it won't be able to install it. So just hit, if you remember that screen, it had OK and cancel. So just click cancel, and then you have to do that manually. But that's only if you select Word I/O for the hard drive type. But if you're selecting any other type, then you just enter the information, just click OK, and the Windows will install automatically by itself.
So to talk about some of the more settings that we have, let's go into this VM. We were talking about virtual I/O. That is something that could help it just run faster. So virtual I/O can help the virtual hard drives run faster, also help your networking run faster. So for storage, we have virtual I/O on this VM. For networking, we have virtual I/O. So it just increases the IOPS performance of hard drives, virtual hard drives, and networking of the VM. Some other things I wanted to show was we can take snapshots of VMs pretty easily. Take a snapshot. Doesn't really matter what you call it. We also have the features to export. I'll just watch a snapshot take place, didn't take long. We also can export a VM. You could include the ISO image or not. You could export to your local NAS or not. And we also have the option to import a VM. So if you'd already exported it, you could import it. So you could export it to the same NAS, export it to a different NAS, then import it on either of those NAS. We could import something from VMware. There's a lot we can import or export. And we can migrate from one NAS to another NAS. And then something else that's neat is that we do have the ability to hardware accelerate a VM. So under PCIe, oh, not this one. let me choose a different VM. So go to PCIe. We have a GPU in this NAS. So I think that the VM has to be turned off to do this, and that's why I have to switch VMs. But as long as your VM is off, you can add things like a GPU. You could also add like a USB port. So there's different things you could add to your VM to increase its usefulness or power. So there's really a lot you could do here, from snapshotting VMs. There's different ways to back up VMs. We have our backup and restore feature, import, export. You can hot add RAM while the VM's off. You can enable, how you could hot add CPUs while the VM's off. You can enable hot add. So here, this VM's off, so I can enable hot add. And now even when it's on, I'll be able to add CPU cores, remove CPU cores. There's really a lot of power that you have here with Virtualization Station.
Yeah, so with Virtualization Station, as mentioned, as Daniel mentioned, that you can add like PCIe devices. Like GPU is the best example because most of our users use GPU. So if you want to run like something that requires video processing in your NAS, so you can install an NVIDIA GPU inside the NAS, and then run some graphic processing software into your NAS as well. Right now, we actually did a test with one of our partners where they ran a ChatGPT with NVIDIA 84,000 GPU on our TX 1290 at one of our all-flash NAS, and they were able to run a ChatGPT on the QNAP using virtualization, using GPU pass-through. So you can run GPU pass-through, and then you can actually you can also attach a keyboard and mouse. So if you want to run something, let's say if you want a virtualization and you want to run like a computer, if you want to convert your NAS into a computer, you can just plug in an HDMI cable to your GPU, and then you can plug in a USB keyboard and mouse, and then you can also run it as like just a regular computer with GPU. If your NAS already has a built-in HDMI, you can also do that as well. But GPU just gives you faster processing available, and it just takes the video processing off the CPU, and it's able to handle that as well. A lot of people can also use it for Plex as well. So that's just a few examples. You can run a GPU pass-through as well with the QNAP. Again, just few examples that we have seen in the past. People run it their own DHCP server using the QNAP, virtualization, database applications, something that they have an application that downloads information on using some third-party websites. So instead of running a physical computer, they can just virtualize that into the QNAP and just have that application run in the background, have them download data as well. So that's a few examples that we have seen with QNAP virtualization as well.
So I think the last feature I want to highlight now is clone. Depending on what you're doing, there could be times when it's useful to clone your VM, just clone it to some new location, and maybe do something on the clone that you're not sure you want to do on the main VM. Cloning a VM is very simple thing to do. You see it cloned right away. So there's a lot of great features here. But now let me go on to Container Station. So this can run Docker or LXC containers. We have also something called applications, which is there to combine two containers together. Like a lot of times one container will need a database. So you might want to link a database container to a container, and applications is an easy way to link containers together. But there's many containers you can make. We connect right to Docker Hub. So go to containers. I could go to Explore, and there's many I can just see here, but you can just type in something like, it doesn't really matter. I could type in this. I could type in, let's say, Ubuntu. There's many containers here. You could just click deploy. I'm not actually going to make this one right now because it's from the Docker Hub, but just to kind of show how you would do it. name, we could do advanced settings. So how you want to connect to it, NAT is the default, that usually makes the most sense. But these are ways that you could just make the container and click apply. But I do want to talk a little bit more about the application option. So in applications, it's a great way to link two containers together. So you would just grab two containers and connect them. And what I want to do is show you that I actually have some container applications running already. So as you see this, I have the main container and the main container database that are linked as a single container application. So I think this is a pretty neat feature. We of course have other features like Kubernetes, and we have some kind of pre-made app templates or containers that are just really easy just to click deploy. And I think for container, did you want anything to Paul, or do you think we're good?
So yeah, the container station allows you to run a single application without running a host or an operating system, right? With virtualization, if you want to run with virtualization, you're actually virtualizing a whole operating system, like a Windows or Ubuntu or whatever operating system you select. But if you just want to run a single application within that VM, so instead of running, because remember, with running a host operating system, latency increases, performance degrades, because remember, it still has to run, there's a processing power, right, within your NAS. Depending on what kind of NAS you have, it may have a lot of processing power, it may have a little processing power. So running a whole operating system already takes away from your RAM and CPU usage already from your NAS. So, and then on top of that, when you run the application within the QNAP, and then it shares that information, it shares the CPU and the RAM with the host operating system. But let's say if you just want to run one single application and it's available under like a Docker, you can just deploy that container instead of running the whole operating system. So you eliminate, so it's better performance, and also it's better latency because it doesn't have to run the whole operating system behind it. So you can containerize that whole application directly using container station. So all this, and then you can still add GPU onto that container. So if let's say we have, for best example is Plex. A lot of people, instead of using the built-in Plex application, they actually run a Plex container, and then they add the GPU within the Plex container, and then they can they'll be able to run transcoding, and they can run whole media application within the container station. So that's just one example that I've seen. They can also run like different applications, and also multiple containers in a single containerization is also another great example that we have introduced in the recent version, where let's say if a container requires another container as a dependency, so you can join that both container and run a single container, and so they can both talk to each other. So that's another great example that you can run via container station. So that's container station in a nutshell.
Actually, I think I might just add, since you mentioned GPU acceleration, one thing cool about container station is if you don't have a GPU but have integrated graphics, container station can actually let your containers use your iGPU.
Yeah, so again, with Intel or AMD devices, many of them come with a built-in GPU as well, so container can take advantage of that. Virtualization would not be able to, so we require an external GPU card for that as well. So yeah. All right, so the next part that we're going to go through would be the backup application. So that's the next part of our workshop. Now, before we continue, I just want to let you know, if you guys have any questions, or if you guys have any comments, or that you want to ask us something, you can always put them in the chat window or Q&A section, and I'll be able to help answer that as well. And then you can also, we encourage you guys to unmute yourself if you want to have a conversation with us. We can also chat during the workshop and help you answer any questions that you guys have. So just keep that in mind. So let's look at how you can use QNAP to back up your devices, right? So QNAP now, we just did a workshop, also a webinar last month about how to, we introduced a bare metal backup option with the QNAP now for Windows computers and Windows servers. So you can run, you can now do a bare metal backup of your Windows servers and Windows computer onto the QNAP NAS using Hyper Data Protector. The great feature of that is it's a licensing free, it doesn't require any kind of licensing. So so you can now, if you have a lot of Windows computers at your location, and if you want to back up all those computers into the QNAP, you can run a Hyper Data Protector application within the QNAP NAS. It's called Hyper Data Protector 2.0. We always had this application, but we only supported Hyper-V and VMware. But you can now run Windows Server and Windows PC backup as well. So once you install the application, you wanna create a folder on your QNAP NAS and then add a repository within the QNAP. So let's say I have under my QNAP NAS, I have multiple shared folders, but one of them is for HTTP, and if you look at inside HTTP, it's for my PC backups. So right here I have HTTP application. It's running so I have added a repository for my PC backups. It's going to that. So to adding a repository is very simple. Just create a repository, and then you can choose any name you want, and then you can choose the folder on your NAS to add that into the repository. So I can add a team backup or whichever pieces that they all want to add. Once you add that, you can now for Windows and PC backup, you just have to go here in the inventory where everything is installed, and then go to PC and then click on add inventory, and just download the NetBack application that you have on the computer. I have a VM running that shows you the example of what the application looks like. So this is the VM app, the NetBack application agent, that application installed on the PC. So every computer that you want to back up needs to have this agent installed to be able to back up that into the QNAP. With this backup application, you can see, I'm going to edit the job just to give you an example of how it looks like. So you can choose, if you have multiple volumes on the PC, you can choose which volume that you want to back up into the QNAP, and you can select the destination, which is the PC backup. Once you hit next, you can select the schedule. So you can ask the QNAP software to back up daily, every day, like every monthly, or you can also trigger a backup if you lock the system, or if you log out, you trigger a backup job as well. And you can also do a frequency as well, so not to back up but if the last backup was done within the 2 hours, just skip that backup. Hit next. You can also do versioning. Now this is a great example of having multiple versions of the backup, right? So if you want to restore something, let's say if you corrupted the file or if you accidentally deleted a file, so you can restore to a particular given date and time, and you can select and it's supposed to be 65,000 or actually 65,500 backups or versions that you can go back to. So you can restore a lot of versions on the QNAP NAS. You can also go back even like multiple years of backup. That if your QNAP NAS have enough space available, you can also do versions over multiple years as well, and then you can restore back the VM or the PC from that as well. And you can also do rules as well if you want to have encrypted transfer, compression transfer. What happens after the backup finishes? You want the QNAP to turn off the PC or make it sleep, or you can also do configuration as well. This is a great feature because sometimes there are multiple networks available on your setup, right? So you can select it could be also that you have a direct attached cable as well, that from the PC going to the QNAP NAS. So instead of going through your network, you can do backups through direct attached cable as well. And then so we have that ability as well with the QNAP NAS. And once you have the summary, you can click on save. Now I've done multiple backups as well. You can see my job history. I've done successful backups as well. I can see overview as well. And then you can do a backup now, or you can do a backup explorer. This allows you to see all the backups that you have done on the QNAP NAS. You will need to log into your QNAP to be able to see that. And then this is where you're going to see all the backups you have done. Now, this is great if you don't want to restore everything. Let's say if you corrupted a single file. Instead of restoring the whole PC, you can actually go to Backup Explorer, and if you have multiple versions on the same day, you can select which version that you want to restore from, or you can select a completely different date. And then once you've done that, you can just go through your computer's files, and then you can restore a certain file, only that particular file. So if you have deleted a file or corrupted a file, or let's say if you want to compare the original copy of the data with the correct copy, you can just download a particular file from that computer. Hopefully I have some, let's say I'm just select a random file, and you can download that to your computer. So now you have the access to the previous file as well as the current computer as well, so you can compare the file as well. So it's not only great for restoring from bare metal backups, but you can also restore a given file directly from the computer as well. Another thing that I want to show you before we move on is to create a USB boot drive. Let's say if the computer this computer, you replace the hard drive. Now you have lost access to the whole OS, right? You can now create a boot drive and then boot from that USB drive, and then you can connect to your QNAP NAS and then restore the whole computer. That's a bare metal backup as well. So, and you can also restore to another computer. You can actually have two copies of the same PC into two different hardware as well. So you can do that as well with the QNAP NAS as well. So that's hybrid data protector. Remember, all these features is available for free. There's no additional cost required for this. Another feature that I want to show you is for hybrid data protector is if you're running your own VMware or Hyper-V, you can actually back up all your VMs from that VMware onto the QNAP NAS. And again, there's no licensing fee for that as well. Let me see if I can open my VMware. So I've just set up a test VMware environment on my network. And I just have a single VM for this particular demo. It's not complicated stuff. You can not only use the QNAP iSCSI feature to be able to have a data stored on the QNAP NAS via iSCSI or NFS, but you can also back up those VMs you're running on the VMware onto the QNAP NAS, and for free as well. So no licensing fee required like another manufacturer would do. So once you have this, so I have a single VM that's running. So all you have to do is you just have to click on Add Inventory. You can name your VMware anything. Just have to enter your host IP for the VMware, username, password, and what service port it's using. Once you have added that, so I'm just going to edit this. Once you added that, you will see if you have a lot of vCenters as well, a lot of different VMware environments, you will see all of them, and you can see the VMs that you have running on that. So once you have connected the VM, you can go to repository. You can have a separate repository like myself. I have one repository for my PC backups, another repository for my VMware backups. And then for VMware backups, you have to go through the QNAP to be able to back up. You don't need an agent. It's not an agent. It's an agentless backup. So on the VMware, you don't need to have you don't need to run any agents. Also inside the VMs, you don't need to have any agents. So all you have to do is you can create a VMware job. You can select the source as VMware. And then hit next. And then you can select all the VMs, or if it's not important to you, you can only select certain important VMs that you want to back up, and then hit select, and then you can the destination will be your destination on the NAS. Whatever repository you select, hit next. And then you can also run schedules, you can run after different jobs, you can also set up retention policy as well. So on the VMware, you can have multiple versions of the backup as well. You can run VMware rules as well, like compression, encryption. If you want to have CBD running on the VMware as well, you can also run that as well. And also it does it's also application aware processing as well. So if you ever have any applications running, it'll be able to back up that as well without having to have any kind of errors or stop that VM backup as well. And then summary and backup job as well. So I have backup jobs that's running on my QNAP. To restore something, you just have to create a restore job. So you can select the source would be the NAS. To restore the PC, you just have to go through the computer. Hit next. See, I have multiple versions of that VM that I've backed up. You can select which date at time as well, and hit next. Select the VM and hit next. And then once you're selected next, for restore, there's no schedule that you require because it's going to restore just whenever you need it. So you can select no schedule, hit next. Now this is a great feature that you can overwrite the VM, or you can rename the VM to another VM. So overwrite just replaces the original VM. So if you have the whole VM that just got corrupted, or if it's not even available, you can just overwrite this and it will just restore that back to the source VMware. Now, let's say if you want to compare the data from the original point of data when the VMware backup was created and the current point, you can rename it so you have two VMs of the same. So you have two instances of the same VM running, so you can now compare that from the previous date and time to the current VM as well. So that's another feature that and then you can also click on automatically start the restore VM. So once it's finished and restores, and this will all be done directly on the VMware. So once you have selected next and finish, it will restore that directly onto the VM. I think I can do a quick test here. Hopefully it doesn't take that much time. And you can generate a new MAC address so it doesn't interrupt your current VM, and then you can rename whatever you want to rename. Hit next and just click on restore. Now this will start. This is queued and will start running the VMware job. So starting the restore. But that's again, it's all licensing free. We support VMware 8.0, and also it supports on Hyper-V as well if you want to run that as well. So that's actually already finished restoring because there's not much data in that VM, so it's going to be a quick restore. So right here you can see that it's recovered, and there's a status error because the thing that I haven't configured the VMware correctly. The hard drive space is not that much, so it's probably going to have a warning on here. But you can see how quickly it restores. Again, it's not much data, but it can restore, and then you can start running the VMware as well. That's just a quick way to back up a VMware environment, Hyper-V environment, your PCs, a bare metal backup of your PCs as well. Next thing I want to show you, because not all homes or small businesses only have Windows computers with VMware. A lot of home businesses or homes or small businesses will also have Mac as well, right? We have solution for Mac backups as well. We call it as we just support the time machine backup. So now your QNAP NAS can be a time machine server, so you can back up all your Mac computers onto your QNAP. To set up that, you need to have another application running on the NAS called Hybrid Backup Sync. Under Hybrid Backup Sync, you can go to Services. Now, before we go through here, actually, we can go through this first, and then go to Time Machine. And you can see right here, we have a tutorial that you can follow here as well. If you missed this particular workshop and you want to go through a step-by-step guide, we have a tutorial on how to set this up as well. So for newer Macs, you can just click on the first button, which is broadcast the selected shared folder to Time Machine as Samba, because Samba is now supported for my Time Machines on the newer Mac. Actually, it's recommended now. For older Macs, we also support Time Machines via NFS as well, and then you can select that. You can also select which folder that you want to set up as, or I can show you that as well. So once you have done that, hit apply. Now, the next thing I recommend doing is creating a separate folder just for Time Machine backup. So when you go to shared folder, just click on create and say TM backups or whatever folder that you want to name it as. And then you can select how much data that you want to have. If you want to have snapshot as well, you can set up that as well. Hit next, click, and then nothing much changes here. But on the last page, then you can set up your read-write access for that user. And then the last part, you need to make sure you check this box. Set this folder as Time Machine backups for Mac OS. Once you've done that, hit next and hit finish. That's all you have to do. Now, on this Mac, I already have Time Machine set up, so If I go to system preferences on that Mac, I go to time machine. And then already, it's actually doing a backup right now, but if I select, I can stop using this, I can select another disk. So right here, so first you have to do is you have to go to Q Finder, and then you can click on the NAS that you have, click on network drive, enter the username and password, click on remember me, click OK, and then make sure you select the correct protocol, which is what the default is, add this folder to mount it as favorites, click OK. And then select the folder that you want to be able to do backups to, and just click OK. I already have that available connected on my computer, so I'm not going to select that. It's already connected here. I think somewhere, should be somewhere here. I have so many NASs connected. So right here, TM, the time machine folder. So once it's connected, you can just go to time machine under settings, and then just select this, and then just click on the TM backups that you have connected. And then once you're connected, and because it's already using that, I have the option of remove this, but you will be having an add disk option. And then once you start using it, you can start doing the backups. And if you want to restore, just search time machine. Here, and then you can now see which version, because time machine supports versioning as well, and you can see which version. I have versions from yesterday or sometime previously as well, certain days as well. So you can restore, and you can restore a certain given file, or we can restore the whole machine to that particular location as well. Time machine also supports booting up from that version as well. Let's say if you want to if your operating system is not working correctly and you're restoring the whole operating system, when you boot up to the Mac OS, there's an option to be able to boot from the time machine backups, and you can just click on that and boot up from the time machine, and you can restore the whole machine to that given date and time. So that's time machine backup that I want to show you. So we went through VM backups, we went through time machine backups, we went through PC backups. Another thing I want to show you is a few more things I can show you that QNAP can allow you to do is like few things that that QNAP is great at doing, and it's all licensing free. You don't need to require you to pay licensing. Is let's say if you have Google Photos and you want to back up all your Google Photos, right, into your QNAP NAS, we have something called Mars application. What that does is it connects to your Google account. Actually, it also does WordPress as well. So if you're running WordPress software, you can actually back up all your WordPress data as well. But for Google Photos, I have myself and wife connected here. Both my accounts connected. All you have to do is click on Add Service, and then you just name any service that you want. And then connect to Google's account. Just enter your information, and just click on Connect. Once you're connected, once your account is connected, you can go to backup, and you see I have a backup that's running already from my wife's account, Google Photos account, and myself, Google's Photos account. So what I've done is because remember Google Photos gives you 15 gigs of free data, right? So once you reach that, then you have to start paying to get additional service. But Google Photos gives you a lot more. A lot of people like the Google Photos application. So with QNAP NAS, you can take the advantage of backing up all your Google Photos. So what I'm doing is instead of paying additional, I use the 15 gigs of free storage. And once I've reached that, and my NAS is connected to Google Photos, every night, every 1 in the morning, my QNAP will back up all the new photos that I've taken from my Google Photos into my QNAP NAS. And once I've done that, I'll delete everything from my Google Photos. So it does not use that free 15 gigs, and I stay within that free 15 gigs of storage. Because my QNAP NAS have multi-terabyte of storage capacity, all my photos are backed up into my QNAP NAS. So now you can go to action. And to create a backup is really easy. Just click on Backup Now. You can name any job that you want. Make sure you select Google Photos, and then the source will be whatever account that you want to back up from. and then the destination is, you have to select a folder on your NAS to back up all your Google Photos. I have created a new photo, just folder for my NAS. I like to keep it everything organized, so I have another folder for my Google Photos, for my wife, and you have to have separate subfolder for your wife or for a family member, as well as for yourself. And once you have selected the folder, let's say I've selected the folder. Once you have done that, you can either back up all files, or you can back up specific albums as well. So QNAP allows you to back up not just all files, but specific albums which are more important to you. So the backup for every file, because you may take a lot of screenshots and a lot of pictures that you don't require, but if you organize everything into an album, which is most important to you, right? Albums, you can ask QNAP, instead of backing up your regular photos, you can ask QNAP to just back up albums. So the most important photos are backed up, the rest of the photos are not backed up. So it's just all your screenshots, all the random photos that you've taken all throughout the day are not backed up, not using additional space, but only specific albums are running as backups. And you can run it by schedule as well. Another feature that QNAP offers is run after. So if you have multiple family members you're backing up, you can start the backup for your main family or main member at 1 in the morning, and instead of guessing when the next backup should start, we can ask the QNAP just to start the next job after the first one finishes. The third one will start after the second job finishes. Another great feature that QNAP provides you, instead of guessing what time the first will finish, and then it may start together, it'll just start one after the other. So another great feature that it provides as well. And you can also restore that into. You can also do another restore to your Google Photos. You can restore back to Google Photos if you like to as well, or you can just access all your photos through File Station as well. Last feature I want to quickly show you is QNAP Agent. It's a free application for one account that you can use to back up all your emails that you have on the QNAP NAS. If you want to back up all your emails that you want to back up, you can back up directly onto your QNAP. So, for example, my work email is limited to 50 gigs. So after 50 gigs, I have to delete all my emails to be able to get new emails. What I'm doing is I'm using my QNAP agent to back up all my work emails into the QNAP, and there's no space limitation. As long as your QNAP has space, it can back up everything that you want to. And once you back up all your emails, also attachments as well, then and then you can delete all your main emails, and you can just use your QNAP to go back. Let's say if you want to go back emails from last year, you can just QNAP agents, look up any emails that you want last year, and then you can actually access the email as well as whatever that you want to, and then you can see all your attachments as well. Everything is available through the QNAP agent as well. So that's another great quick feature I wanted to show you, that you can back up your emails as well within the QNAP NAS. Hopefully, I was able to go through all the options for the emails. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to wait for the Q&A session now.
Should I share my screen? Or no?
Right now, we wait for the Q&A session. So I'll go through all the Q&A, because right now we have the Q&A sessions available. So
actually, can I say one more thing? Someone asked about the difference between clone and export, and there's one more thing I want to mention about export. Is not only does it let you export it to another QNAP NAS, but when you export, you can choose either QVM or OVF, Open Virtualization Format. So export, you could even take your VM to a non-QNAP product. And so with clone, of course, it's just only make a copy on the same QNAP. So it's not really for moving it anywhere. I'd say it's mostly for you either just want a local copy or you want to try something that you don't want to do on your main device.
Yeah, so I mean, clone clones a VM on the same QNAP, but exporting is available to export to another QNAP or to open virtualization application. So you can also run it onto a different hypervisor as well. And also same for importing as well. If you want to import, we have image converter. If you have a non-QNAP hypervisor and you want to run that VM onto the QNAP, you can use the image converter to convert that image into compatible QNAP format, and then we can run that into the QNAP. So if you want to, because remember, QNAP is a hypervisor that you can run on the NAS. Why don't you run some VMs and test that as well if you wanted to as well? So that's a major major difference between that. Another question, we have multiple questions about recording this workshop. Yes, we will be recording this workshop and will be available on our YouTube channel. Also, a follow-up email will be sent to all the people who have registered for this email with the replay link, so you can replay this workshop as well. We'll wait about a few more minutes for the Q&A sessions. If you guys have any questions, just put them in the chat, or you can ask them in the Q&A section as well. All right, so we're back. I think there's one more question before we start the next session, is why some applications open up in a new browser running or others run in a QNAP desktop tab. It just depends upon the design of the application. Usually we open up another browser if the application requires like more tabs inside the browser. So a new browser just gives us the ability to have more space in the browser, right? So you can open up multiple different tabs, multiple different setups as well within that. So that's probably why the design choice, having some applications open up, like QBR Pro, again, has multiple different applications within the application, like control panel, its own control panel, its own camera settings. That's why it runs it on its own browser tab. Virtualization is very simple setup. It does not require having, because you can all have it in a single pan. So that's why it runs as just another tab inside the QNAP desktop rather than having a whole browser of already. And also, yeah, that's basically what I would say why the design choice of having a browser versus desktop. All right. So let me share my screen again so we can start with the next option. So the next thing is we're going to go through is the multimedia server to organize your media files, right? Again, it's a fun topic that we have done multiple times. I just wanted to quickly go through that as well. With QNAP, you can run multiple multiple multimedia applications. I'm going to focus on two major ones. One is the Plex application. The other one is QUMagic. Plex is an application, again, it's a free application, but it may require licensing for some advanced features that you want on the NAS. Like transcoding is a feature that requires Plex Pass. If you want to access it to different applications, like TV applications, then you may require Plex Pass, which is, I think, $100 for lifetime pass, which you can get. But the advantage running on the QNAP hardware is because many of our NAS come with Intel processing power, so it does support the Intel QuickSync application to be able to transcode or do hardware transcoding. Like our best-selling NAS, which is the TS464 or 664 or 264, that comes with Intel Celeron processor that can do up to 4K hardware transcoding on the go. So what's transcoding? Transcoding is a feature that allows you to convert the file. There are two things that happens, right? Either an incompatible type of file, let's say, for example, if you have an MKV file that may not be able to run on iPhones or Apple TVs. Now, the newer versions can run that, but the older versions could not run MKV files. But the Plex can read that MKV file and be able to stream it, but when it hits the iPhone or Apple TV, it just won't able to play back that file. So what QNAP will do is, what Plex and QNAP will do is, using the hardware of the QNAP, Plex will convert that on the go. So while you're streaming that video, it converts that MKV file into something more compatible, an MP4 file, to be able to stream and watch. So while you're watching the video, it's actually doing a live conversion of that file and streaming that video to your TV or your phone. So that's one example. That's one thing that happens. The other thing that may happen is resolution conversion as well. So you may have noticed this multiple times on YouTube, Netflix. Let's say if you're traveling, you are at an airport or hotel where it does not have a good connection or has a slower internet connection, and you're trying to when you're trying to stream something from YouTube or Netflix, you will see the quality of that video dropping to something to be able to handle the resolution. So to be able to handle the internet connection, and that's happening on the go as well. The original video would be like a 4K video or a 1080p video, but since your internet connection is not high enough to be able to stream 4K or 1080p stream, it converts that into something like more lower resolution, like 720p or even 360p. That's called resolution transcoding. Actually, Plex with QNAP hardware is able to support that on the go as well. So instead of converting without, so I'll give you an example. So without hardware transcoding, what you have to do is, even for previous scenario for MKV files or resolution, you have to pre-convert that all your data into something more compatible, like MP4 files. So before hardware transcoding was available for basically for MKV files, you have to before you, I'm sure people would remember Handbrake software that you have to use that to convert that MKV file into something like MP4 file, and then put that into QNAP or your computer to be able to stream that over across the network. But now, since hardware transcoding is available, you don't need to do that. So you just have to put the MKV file directly on the QNAP, and Plex will take care of that. Same for resolution. Before hardware transcoding, if you want to have multiple versions of that or multiple resolutions of the same file, you have to pre-convert that into something like 360p, 720p, 1080p, and then 4K eventually. So then you can select the ability to select, okay, I want to, because my internet connection is not good enough, I have to lower the resolution to 720p, and instead of using the original 4K file, the Plex will take the 720p file you put in and be able to stream that. But imagine having multiple versions of resolutions for all your movies and media, how much space that will take. But with hardware transcoding, with Plex and QNAP, and able to handle that as well, you can now just put the original 4K content or 1080p content on the QNAP. No need to pre-convert that. And when Plex sees that, and you ask the Plex, oh Plex, can you convert this to something like, my internet connection is not good, can you convert it to 720p? It will convert the 4K stream back to 720p and continue your streaming as well. Plex have now, with the newer versions of Plex, it has introduced auto conversion. So Plex will see your internet connection live, and it'll actually convert that on the go, just like YouTube or Netflix. Just remember, on YouTube, Netflix, you do have the ability to select the resolution, especially on YouTube, but now you don't have to do that. YouTube can see, oh, your internet connection has dropped significantly. It'll pre-convert that already, and you can stream that as well. With Plex, it also, that feature is now available as well. And with QNAP hardware, something Intel processor, you can do that with QNAP as well. So to install Plex, you can just go to, if you have Plex Pass, you can just go to plex.com or plex.tv and download their application, or you can just search for Plex on the App Center and then just install the applications. Once you install the application, you can open the application, and then after the initial setup, I've done the initial setup, so it's just going to open my library. But after the initial setup, you can see the Plex has its own media library that now it supports with a lot of free content available. But with QNAP, you can also see your own content here. So on the QNAP, if you hit the plus button to add your own folder. So if you have TVs, movies that you have available on as files, you can put that into Plex, and then it will then Plex will create the library for you. Let's say if you want to do something like movies, so if you click movies, you can name the folder as well. Hit next. Next is where your media is available on the QNAP NAS. So on the QNAP NAS now, since we are using CFS file system, it may get a little bit confusing where your data is. Just look for something underscore data. That's where usually your data would be. Unfortunately, you will need to go through some folders to be able to find your movie folder. So I'll just go through all the data folders and see where my folder is. So right here, multimedia is under my CFS3 underscore data, and then you can select whichever folder you want. Just click add, and then just hit add library, and then it will add your library from that QNAP NAS. So that's how simple it is to add library. Once you have done that under movies, it will just show you all the library that you have on the NAS, and then you can start streaming that. I just want to go through some settings, with, especially for Plex Pass applications, or if you have Plex Pass, you want to go through transcoder, and then you want to, especially for QNAP with Intel NAS, also Intel CPUs, you want to enable this feature called hardware transcoding when available. So QNAP can use, sorry, the Plex will use the Intel processor to be able to transcode that live on the go, and you can also do without video transcoding, just use any kind of different kind of transcoding as well, and then you can select the quality, like high-speed transcoding, but not the quality. Also prefer quality depending on what you want to select, and then the transcoding as well, the speed of preset transcoding, and you can do that as well and hit apply. You can also ask QNAP to only transcode certain amount of. So if you have a lot of people watching your streams, you can actually ask QNAP to be able to just do one transcoder, two transcoder, because especially on the lower NAS, it may not be able to do multiple 4K transcoding at the same time. So you can ask the QNAP to only do one transcoding at a time, or you can, if you have a good enough NAS like our X74 with Intel i-series processor, it can handle multiple 4K streaming as well. So you can select which stream, how many streams you want to have to do transcoding at the same time. So that's just a quick way. We also, Plex have now introduced HDR tone mapping. So if you have HDR10 videos, Dolby Vision videos, you'll be able to do transcoding of that content as well properly, so it doesn't fade away. So if you have those videos, usually without this feature, you'll see a faded video when, especially when watching HDR content. But with this, you'll be able to do proper tone mapping as well. So once you have selected all the applications, just go to the Plex application, and you will see your library right here. This is playing directly from the NAS. So if I click on OK to play, it's going to start playing the content. Since it's streaming through a Teams application, there may be the quality, or also it'll be stuttering a lot, is because it's going through the Teams application. So don't worry about that. But here it's gonna let me show you my CPU usage. So CPU usage, see the CPU usage is not even using, because it's actually streaming directly. But if I ask the Plex to do, like, let's say if you're on a Plex application to, it's right now playing an original 4K content, but I ask Plex to convert that video on the go at 480 stream. And you can see how quickly it converted that video, right? It's because of the hardware transcoding. And you can see my CPU usage may bump a little bit, but since it's this is an i7 processor, it's not going to be able to, it'll be able to easily handle this quickly. And you can see the CPU usage bumped up a little bit when I transcoded that, but I can also go back and then see maybe something will convert that into a lower quality. And you can see the CPU usage bump up a little bit because it's transcoding on the go to something like a 4K transcoding as well. Now, I'm going to do the same setup, but without using hardware transcoding. And you can see when you don't use hardware transcoding, it uses software transcoding, or your CPU to be able to do to be able to handle that as well. This is going to be a little bit slower as well. I think the CPU usage should jump up a little bit more. Yeah, you can see the CPU usage actually more than triple the CPU usage, because it's not using, because Intel CPU comes with Intel QuickSync chip inside that uses the hardware transcoding feature. But without that, the CPU is doing software transcoding, which is going to be using a lot more. Because it's a small file, it actually transcoded pretty quickly, because it's very small file. It's only about a few minutes file. But if you're going to transcode like multiple hour-long videos, your personal videos or even movies, that's going to take a while to transfer all of that into transcoding. But since it's a small file, it's going to transcode really quickly, but then it's going to finish that transcoding really quickly as well. And it does buffer as well, so it transcodes the whole file at one time as well. So that's You see the CPU should jump up quite a bit when using software transcoding. Once you finish your software transcoding, it'll go back down. If I do enable again, you can see the CPU should just jump up a little bit because it's able to handle that using hardware transcoding, and it'll go back down. So that's, you can see you can see the major difference, especially with a compatible CPU like an Intel i-Core CPU. You can see the difference will be quite a lot. Same with lower end CPU as well, like a 464 Intel Celeron CPU, since it can handle a single 4K stream. A software transcoding will be using the CPU it'll be almost taking that 100%. Since you already have that CPU, why not take the advantage of using hardware transcoding? So that's the advantage of having QNAP NAS with Plex server, so that you can create your own library and use hardware transcoding to create a Netflix style library for yourself. And Plex app is available for iPhones, Android phones, for your TV. Most of all the TVs, I've yet to see a TV that doesn't have Plex application. So it's available for all the TVs as well. So you can now stream all your data directly to that. It's not for movies as well. If you have a lot of personal media, I have a lot of personal media that I've captured over the time. I just put them into Plex because it gives me a simple way to access all my personal media directly from my Plex application. So all my birthday videos, all my a lot of videos all my vacation videos, all of them are in my Plex application. Remember, Plex is not just for movies, medias, or TV shows. It's also for your personal media as well, because it gives you a library of how to easily access all your media library, right? And then you can also, with Plex Media Server, you can go under settings, and then you can also edit, because since this is not a movie, it does not capture the forgot the name of that, and go under settings, under settings here. So it does not capture the poster of that, right? So you can actually just choose your own image and you can create your own. So if it's a birthday video, you can just take a picture of the birthday person and just put it as a poster, and then you can put and upload that. So now when it shows this particular file, it actually has that birthday person's photo. It's just like a movie poster. Basically is that. If you put a movie file, usually it uses IMDb to be able to grab that data, like all the directors, all the actors, all of that into a single, and it will put that information. But since it's in personal media, it does not do that, since there's nothing information available online. So you can upload all of that here as well, and under settings you can upload, you can tag that as well. Directors generate like years, collections as well. You can also do posters, information of that file, labels. You can do all of that with Plex application. So not just for movies, videos, you can also do it for personal media as well. So that's Plex in a nutshell. Next is I wanted to show you would be our QNAP application. QNAP is a free application available from QNAP. It organizes all your photos into a single library type application, just like Google Photos, just like Apple iPhone Photos. It organizes that and also uses AI to be able to organize it in a better manner as well. So let me open the application. Right. Again, it's a free application. All the features I'm going to show you on this is all available with no licensing fee. So when you open, and it's also available for an iPhone and Android phone. So when you open the application, you will see all your recently photos and videos that you've taken on the QNAP. And you can go, and on the right side, you will see the timeline of different years that you have the photos from. That's just basically what, just a quick way to be able to see all your media files as well. But what the fun features will be under Explore. Under Explore, this is where it's going to use AI to be able to organize your photos into like people. So it does facial recognition, it does object recognition, and it does places recognition as well. So, and you can also do tagging. You can also have your 360 photos, your live photos in also different manners. Also similar photos. You've taken a lot of similar photos, And so you can do, unfortunately I don't have it, so it won't show me here, but under similar photos, you will see all your similar photos. You can select the first copy and delete all the photos, so you only have one copy. So this is a great way to recognize all your similar photos from your QNAP NAS. But basically, the important feature is the facial recognition. So if you click here, you will see all your photos. Initially, when you first upload it, it will go through all the photos and it will recognize the different faces on that photos, and then you start naming them into whoever person names whoever person is that person, whoever person that is, you can name them as well. Like people right here, I've named almost of my photos, but if the person is not recognized, if I have to name that person, it will say who am I, and you can enter a new name. Or if it's, because sometimes what can you imagine happens that similarly it will happen for other applications. If it's a different angle of the same person, it may be same person, may not recognize as that person. So if it's the same person, you'll see a list of persons that you have named already. You can select that, it will put them into that person's photo, and it will be in that person's photo. Now, if you want to see if you want to see all my photos, just click on that person's name, and we'll see all the photos of that person in that single library. You can actually select multiple people, and it will show you photos of a group photo of all that people as well. So right here, I have me and Eric on that same photo, and so if I select both of them together, it will show that all of that in that single photo as well. You can also do merging as well, so you can merge two people if it's the same person. You can merge them as well into a single person as well. So that's facial recognition. Another feature that it does is object recognition. So it will see all your photos. This automatic feature right now does not have the ability to do create your own tag right now. We have put in that feature. Hopefully that will be available soon. But you will see all the we'll just look at your library and see different type of photos that you have: nature photos, people, food, cars, all of that as well. It just means into different objects or different things. Lastly, it does do places as well. So this is a great feature that, so if you travel a lot and you have pictures from different applications, different places, it will group them into single, and do album style photos, and then you can also see them here, or you can open up Maps application. This is, okay, another important thing to remember is all these features that I'm showing you right now does not require internet connection. Right? Everything happens locally on your QNAP NAS. All the people, all the things, all your libraries stored within the QNAP, and it stays within the QNAP. All your facial recognition information is not uploaded to QNAP servers, it stays within the QNAP. So even if let's say if you disconnect internet connection and you have it on your local network completely, all this feature will work. It will not have any issues. It will still recognize everything that you need to have, and you can still name everyone. The only feature that does not work is the Maps application. So if you go to Maps here, this requires internet, so you're able to open up the Maps application, and then and that's the only thing that requires. So going back here, so that's if you don't want to have this information on cloud services, just use QNAP to be able to have everything stored locally, and everything will remain local to your server. If you open up Maps, it will show you the global map, and you can see all the photos that you have taken from different. I only have places like United States, so show me photos. If you've taken all around the world, basically it will show you pictures that you've taken all around the world. So another great feature that QNAP offers. And remember Mark's application that I was showing you, you can actually use, once you download information from Google Photos, you can also create your own library using Google Photos on the QNAP NAS as well. So another great feature that QNAP offers as well. Another feature that, if you want to search the feature, you can do facial recognition. So if you don't know the person's name, you can upload his or her photo, and then it will be able to, and you can select the person's name. Unfortunately, I don't have a photo of that, for example, and you can search for that person, or you can do, and you have, we have this dynamic search. You can search for anything. Like if you want to search for car, you just search for car, or if you want to search for anything like that, you just search for that keyword, and if there's a photo, it will pull that information out. Or you can search for a person's name, and it will search all that person. if you want to search group photo, just put in the people's information, all the people that you want on that group, and it will search for that photo. Since I only have one photo for me and Eric, it will bring up only me and Eric's photo. And you can keep adding people. So if you want like really lower down like number of photos that you have in that search, you can keep adding information and it will bring up that search. It's a very dynamic search that just like Google Photos or Apple Photos, it's very dynamic search. You can put in any information and there's photos available, it'll be available here as well. And then under folders, this is where you're gonna see where the folders are of your NAS. This is the internal folders of the NAS. If you want to go through that, I only added multimedia, so we'll go to multimedia. Also albums. Now this is another great feature that you can create new albums. Now you can just create regular albums just like every application, right? Google Photos, any application. Just select photos you want in that application, in that folder, sorry, in that album. Name that album and click create, and it will create that album for you. But what we offer is something called Smart Album. Smart Albums is where you can quickly create albums without having to manually go through and select albums. So that's if you want to create an album for me, for all my photos. So I can just name an album, I have an album name for myself, and under people I can select include all or include myself here and click add, and then just click create. And it will create all, and see how quickly now it will create an album for all the photos that have inside of my, that have my photos inside of them. Or you can create, and you have the ability to create like albums for like any tags that you want, things, people, ratings, date taken. So for example, if you go to a vacation, right? Let's say if you go to vacation on the month of, like from January, the first week of January, you went to a vacation. Now we want to create an album. We've taken over 1,000 photos during that week. Now if you go through an album, you create an album and you have to go through all that 1,000 photos manually. Imagine the work that you have done, that you have to do to be able to create about one single album for that whole week, right? But with QNAP, you can create an album for that week by going to this option by Smart Albums, click on Custom by Date Taken. And then go to January, you select that date, click OK, and just if I have photos, I will bring them. I don't think I have photos from January, but just as an example, click create, and it doesn't have any photos. But since it doesn't, if it had photos for January, it will create an album for that. And now you can actually click on share this album and then we can also share this album. You can also pass to protect this album. You can also expand this. If you want to share this link to somebody else outside of your NAS, then you just share this to somebody else, and then they can download all the photos. So if you have vacation with your friends or another family member, you can just share all these photos quickly to that particular person, and they can download everything directly on that from this link, from your personalized link. Again, QNAP again is a free application available. It will also download something called Multimedia Console, which is it's the console to be able to generate everything regarding multimedia. It's a dependent application, so we'll download this. Under content management, you can ask QNAP to be able to use which folder on the NAS to be able to have all the photos that you have. So once you have selected that, just apply. It also does indexing as well, just quickly creates thumbnails for all your photos to be able to do that as well. And then has the AI engine, which is what it uses to be able to generate all this particular data. So that's a quick way to be able to, that's just a quick introduction to multimedia on the QNAP NAS. I'm going to stop sharing my screen before we move on to the last section.
I should share.
All right, so there's some further questions. So yeah, go ahead and move on to the last section of the workshop.
So I'd like to say a few things about remote access because this is very important to have secure remote access to your NAS. So what we have is something called My QNAP Cloud Link, and that is a feature. Let me go there. So My QNAP Cloud Link is a feature to let you remotely access your NAS without any need for port forwarding. You don't need to set the VPN server or anything. It just creates a smart link to your NAS. So I copy that. And this is probably cheating because I'm not remote, but maybe I can make myself remote, maybe tether my laptop to my phone.
It's already entered remote already. CC41A, that's remote access.
Yeah, so this is how it would look remote. I'm currently on the company Wi-Fi, but I can switch to my phone and it should still work.
Yeah, are you sharing?
Yeah, I'm sharing. Can you all still see my screen? I'm now sharing my screen using my cell phone Wi-Fi. And let me try the Q-Link again. So this is essentially a relay. Your NAS calls out to our servers. And because your NAS initiates the connection to our MyQNAP Cloud servers, you don't need to forward any ports because it's initiated from your NAS. You then have an account with MyQNAP Cloud. So you initiate connection with MyQNAP Cloud with your account. Your NAS initiates with the account. And so then MyQNAP Cloud connects you. So a lot of times it's a relay where you basically send data that goes from us to the servers to your NAS, but we don't store the data, we just relay the data. Or if it's able, it can create a direct P2P connection. And so now I'm on the NAS remotely, since this is my phone internet, tethered, my computer tethered to phone internet. And now I can access the NAS. I can go to File Station. I could upload photos. I could upload files, download files from File Station. And I could go to just about any folder and create a share link to any file or folder. So if I just clicked here, share, create share link only. And I like to use Smart Share. So this will use basically the Q-Link feature. You can share a file, you can share a folder. So I'm not going to actually create it right now, but you can create share links. You can access your NAS. I could still download. I could drag and drop to File Station. And of course, I can access my VMs. I can still access Virtualization Station. And I can still go on my VM. So this is just a great way to have secure remote access to your NAS in a way that's extremely easy to set up. You just open the MyQNAP Cloud app and link your NAS with your MyQNAP Cloud account. Very easy to use. A share link is very easy to use. But besides that, here, I'll close this out. That's not the only way we have. We do have the QVPN app. So this is to use your NAS as a VPN server. It can also make your NAS a VPN client to connect to another VPN server. My cell phone's a bit slow, so I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go back to the office Wi-Fi. So let's try this again. So this is our QVPN app. So this is QBelt is our own protocol. There's PPTP, L2TP over IPsec, OpenVPN, and WireGuard. I say WireGuard has been pretty popular because I think it's the fastest. For transmission, when you have a VPN connection, it basically makes it as if you were local. So you could map network drives through SMB. You could basically do just about anything that you could do if you were local. You just VPN to your NAS or to your network, map network drives, and that lets you do just about anything, whether it be QSync, whether it be basically for any application, you could use it just the same pretty much as if you were right there where your NAS is. And then I do want to briefly mention that we do support Tailscale. So this is not a QNAP app, but it is a third-party app that we support. So Tailscale is just a great application, which I'm not going to set up right now, but it's a great way to very quickly set up a mesh VPN. So you run the Tailscale app on your PC, run it on your phone, run it on your Mac, run it on your tablet, run it on your NAS. It just makes a mesh VPN to everything automatically. And with Tailscale, you don't need to forward any ports. For QVPN, like for OpenVPN, there's a port. WireGuard, there's a port. So for our VPN app, there's a port or a couple ports you have to forward for that VPN connection, VPN port. Tailscale, no port forwarding, makes it a little bit easier to set up. I say Tailscale is very simple. QLink is probably the very simplest, completely simplest. But with both QLink, you're not going to like map a network drive through QLink. So there are some things you can't do through QLink, whereas with VPN, you can do about everything. And Tailscale is really easy. But if you use a QVPN, it's not too bad, and it's like WireGuard is very fast, and so our QVPN feature is very good. And because it's our feature, there's no licensing. For Tailscale, for professional use, there's some licensing. So those are some options for remote access. Secure remote access is very important. So VPN access or QLink access is much more secure than like forwarding the HTTPS port. I personally think almost no one should be forwarding the HTTPS port anymore. Now that secure remote access is so easy through a variety of ways. So I don't think I have too much more to say on that, unless you have anything to add, Deval.
No, that's it. Yeah, just remote access, multiple ways to secure remote access your NAS. You can share your data as well. No need to open any ports on your router to be able to to be able to remotely access it. And a secure way to remotely access remotely access your NAS as well. As QLink is QNAP's own way to be able to remotely access. A very simple way. Just put in your name the QLink. So under the MyQNAP Cloud application and the MyQNAP Cloud link, you will see your your personal QLink URL, which is usually HTTPS ://qlink.to/NAS QLink name that you've given, and then you can just put that in your browser and you'll be able to access it. And QLink supports on all applications. So if you have QUMG, QFile applications, you can run that with QLink. You don't need to open any ports on your router. And a VPN, again, to be able to, you can use a VPN application, the QVPN for WireGuard, OpenVPN, PPTP if you prefer VPN, but does require opening ports. So you just have to be careful on that one. And then, as mentioned, the WireGuard is the third-party application we now support. Sorry, Tailscale is the third-party application that we now support. It uses their own server to be able to create a mesh VPN network within your devices, and you can access it without having to open any ports. And that's it. Basically, that's remote access. So now we'll just wait for. That's it for our workshop. We'll wait for a few more minutes for any Q&As, or if you want to chat with us, we'll just wait. I'll keep that line open for 2 more minutes. If we have more questions, we'll keep the line open for a longer time. But yeah, just if you have any questions, just keep putting that in the chat. You can unmute yourself, ask us any questions, or you can put them in the Q&A section as well. All right. All right. So seems like no further questions. So we'll conclude this workshop. Thank you all for joining our workshop. We do this usually every month. So next time, so there'll be a webinar this time around, which is a shorter version of something that we do like this. Similarly, we'll just pick one topic and we just dive deep into that topic. So just look out for that email sometime in the end of April. Again, thank you all for joining our workshop, and thank you all for giving us that much time. That's it. All right. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.